welcome to episode 2 of the Breakroom Nachos podcast.
Welcome. It's number 2. We made it. We made it another week. 2 weeks in a row.
This is the deuce.
This is the deuce episode.
Yeah, the big deuce episode.
How you doing, Mike? How's your day going?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Not bad. Mike literally not even 5 minutes ago walked into my apartment, so we gotta catch up and
A little how was the week?
yeah. Well, my week's been going great
Good.
because obviously number one, people have been loving the new channel.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty amazed by what's been going on with that. Like where the first video, the Plant vs. Meat video, that has almost 100 views. Or sorry, it actually surpassed 100 views today.
Excellent.
Which is awesome because my first video on my Captain Mack channel probably still doesn't have 20 views, and for a good reason because it's fucking awful. But I'm really happy to see people are liking the video, liking the podcast, yeah, it's been good. I've been doing some live streams that have been fun. I did a drawing live stream, which was interesting.
Okay.
I picked up a drawing tablet recently, and I was like, well, this thing was expensive, and I bought it on an impulse, so I might as well use it for something. And I started up a drawing live stream, and I just had people suggest whatever they wanted me to draw, and I was kind of going into it feeling nervous because I'm not exactly an artist, but it was super fun because people suggested things like draw a Sonic OC of yourself, which worked pretty well because my hair already makes me look like a Sonic the Hedgehog character.
You do kind of have that Sonic the Hedgehog haircut.
Exactly. And then I got super into a new artist, super into a new music artist, Zutamayo. Super recommend that. Sorry, Zutomayo, Japanese band, really fucking good.
Okay.
And yeah, that's been my week. What have you been up to?
I mean, everything's been kind of busy with launching all this Breakroom Nachos stuff. Just with trying to get the word out there a little bit and, brainstorming a few ideas, but yeah, it's been a fun last week here, so.
Yeah, been a good week. It's super snowy today, like crazy outside. I was really not a fan of it when I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm not a big fan of the snow.
Yeah. Getting back to your drawing thing you did, something that could be interesting. You should just, while you have viewers, just start a drawing and do kind of like a Pictionary kind of thing where they
try to figure out what I'm drawing.
Yeah, see who can guess your drawing first.
That could be fun. It was really interesting. The thing is I know my viewers. I know what kind of stuff they respond to, obviously, because I've been doing it for a while. So I knew if I did a drawing live stream, they would love it and they'd get into it just because they like seeing that kind of thing from me, which is awesome. I love that I have a supportive viewership who would just likes to see the way that I think and likes to see what I do creatively.
Right.
I knew even if I was just drawing whatever I wanted, they'd be into it. But it was even better that they got involved and started recommending stuff I should draw, and some of the stuff we came up with was pretty cursed, but it was a lot of fun.
Nice. So I've talked to you before about how during quarantine I got really into this app called House Party.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, it's sort of a video chat based app with some games built in that everyone in the video call can play at the same time together. And one of them is kind of like a Pictionary style drawing game.
That's right. I think you told me about this a bit.
And Mac, our friend Bradley,
good old Bradley, love Bradley.
Love Bradley to death, but he is by far the worst at that game ever. We would frequently just pick him to draw just for hilarity.
Oh, poor Bradley. Well, if he does embrace it, go pretty hard on it, this is gonna be bad, and I know it, and I'm just gonna work with it.
Yeah. I mean, he tries and he keeps going even when none of us have any clue what he's drawing. But
see, that almost makes it better. It's. I feel like my friends and I have made a game out of that kind of thing where it's just I'm gonna pull a card and draw the furthest possible thing from it, and no one's gonna get it, but it'll be funny.
Right. Very nice.
When we played Jackbox during my 24-hour live stream,
yeah,
people were doing the wrestler game. The game, for anyone who doesn't know, is you draw a wrestler based on a prompt, the champion of cuteness or the champion of I don't know, coolness or whatever. They're more in depth than that, but that's all I can think of with my poo-poo brain. And I think everybody's favorites ended up being the ones that like really didn't make any sense at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like the one that was the prevailing champ was just Steve, which was just a stick figure with the name Steve written over it, and he won every competition he was in. And then you had one that was pretty great, which you texted me afterward and explained it was just DWIA.
Oh yeah,
sorry, no, DWAI. Mike with the fucking phone beeps.
Yeah, sorry guys.
It was DWAI and nobody knew what it was, and that lent itself to it getting more votes and doing better in competition because everyone was like, it's fucking Dwy. Of course it's gonna win. And then you let me know later on that it meant don't worry about it.
Yes, don't worry about it. DWAI.
So I guess it definitely depends on the community, but with like the meme community especially, like that kind of thing is super popular where it's just like, this doesn't make sense, but I love it anyway.
Right. Same thing with like if you ever play like Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, I fucking love Cards Against Humanity.
Because, you know, some of them don't make sense, but they're just so incredibly funny.
The key to that game, you have to like be able to explain your answer or create like a story around it. When I worked at summer camp, I worked with this guy named Dale. I love that guy. He's a great friend of mine. And he was basically like the champion of Cards Against Humanity because no matter what prompt he gave, no matter like what answer he gave to any question, he always had like a, no guys, imagine it kind of scenario. And after he explained what he had said, it was always funnier than everybody else's. Like he won all the time. It was absurd how often he was able to win just because he could explain what his thought process was.
I can see that. The other strategy too is if you really know the people you're playing with,
that like inside jokes kill in a game like that.
Absolutely.
Same with Jackbox.
Yep, 100%.
Playing with a group of strangers is nowhere near as fun as like playing with a group of boys.
Right.
A group of the boys, those sleepover boys. Can I tell you, by the way, we got a comment on the Breakroom Nachos podcast guessing your age, which was from my mom.
Oh, excellent.
She thought you were 27.
Wow.
That's very generous.
Okay. Thanks, Mrs. Mack.
I also I love Mom, if you're listening, that you heard me call him an old man compared to me, and you thought he was 5 years older than me.
I am a little more than 5 years older.
Yeah.
You know, I like we just told everyone, I just got over here a couple minutes before we started this. Mm-hmm. I had just this stupid situation. So I was leaving work and I was in a parking lot.
Okay.
And I was on my phone. I was just sending a text message right before I headed over, and there was someone in the car to my right.
Okay.
And this mother effer just opens up his door and like just straight up hits my car.
What? So he saw you were there.
My car was on.
Like, did you just like did you pull up or did he pull up? Sorry, I don't know if you said that.
No, I didn't. He was already in the car.
He was already in the car.
He was already in the car. I was leaving the business, walking back, and got in my car.
Okay, so you don't know who was there first, or
I don't know who was there first, but he was in
either way.
car.
There was ample time for him to have seen you. That's the thing I'm trying to get at least.
Yes,
like there was ample time for him to have seen you sitting there.
He could have seen me. I turned my car on, so it was a running car next to him. Just opens his door right into my passenger door.
Wow, what a motherfucker!
Yeah, seriously. And then the jackass spends like 4 minutes like waddling himself out of his vehicle. Doesn't say anything.
You're in the car at this point. It's not like you're like standing off to the side and can see it.
Correct.
So, what the hell?
Correct. I'm in the car. And so, I decide I have to take the high road and be the bigger person in this situation.
Right.
So as I back up out of my spot and I'm driving by, he's walking into the business. So being the mature person that I am, I rolled down the window and said, "Nice apology, buddy." And just continued driving.
Yeah, you definitely, you took the high road there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very mature about it,
That's I'm really proud of you. That was very good of you.
Yeah, I haven't
very well natured.
It happened so early. I haven't even looked to see if there's like a dent or anything.
I would have looked right away.
Probably should have, but
that's the worst. Okay, so I back into every spot that I park in.
Right, you pull the dad move.
Oh, totally.
That's a total dad move backing into a spot.
So, okay. So the reason why is because my parents' house, when I got a car for the first time, it was like a slanted parking. What's the driveway? That's what it's called. My house is parking lot. The 40 car parking.
We had
lot
a slanted parking lot at my house.
No, so we had a slanted driveway, and my dad kept telling me, you need to back in case your battery dies and you need to get jumped. And because it was an older car, like like not the car I was talking about before. I've had 3 cars. I had 3 cars like way faster than I should have when I was younger. I've had my current car longer than any other car, obviously, but
sure.
So this car was, I think, a 2000. So it was old too, and it did end up having the battery die and I hadn't listened to him, and I was pulled forward pretty much like against the garage, and it was hard to jump me. So
sure, I
started backing in from there, and it was a longer driveway, so I got used to backing in. So now I back in everywhere I go, everywhere I park, because I find it easier. Like when I need to pull into a spot, I find it more difficult than when I need to back into a spot.
Well, it definitely makes it easier for getting out of your spot.
Yeah. So the point there is, anytime I see someone who is like pulled into a spot and they're parked way too close to the line. So like they're pulled in and the right side of their car is parked way too close to the line. Like anybody who has to pull into that spot would obviously have a hard time getting out of their driver's side door.
Sure.
I take the high road. I'm very good at parking my car. I'm very good at backing in. I can confidently say I can park anywhere, no matter how much space there is, as long as there's enough space for my car.
Okay.
So I park incredibly close to their door in case they have any passengers, because I can still get out on my left side because I back in.
Right.
So I completely block their passenger side door in case anybody needs to get in, just because like people, I'm going to sound like our old coworker Ken for a second, but people got to learn. They can't park like that.
They have to learn.
They have to learn.
Going along with people needing to learn how to park. I saw this meme. This was, I don't know, a few months ago. And I really want to find this same image and use it. But it was basically just a white piece of paper that someone put on someone's windshield that was parked like a jackass.
Oh, the classic.
And it was like a black and white giant picture of a turtle. And it said, I can't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines of, most 3-year-olds have trouble staying in the lines too. Maybe you should practice on this turtle. Maybe you should practice coloring this turtle.
I really like that. That's fucking great.
I think it's hilarious. And I really just want to print out a stack of them and just keep them in my car. So whenever I just see that car just taking up 2 spaces, just boom, they get it.
I've seen stuff like that, but like way meaner. Like if I knew my child would park like you, I'd abort it. Stuff like that.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's funny. That's super funny.
It's really funny.
Wow.
Really mean, but really funny.
Yeah.
Like, that's the main problem is like, it's not even that it's like annoying. It's like your actions are actively influencing or inconveniencing others. That's what's frustrating about it.
Yeah.
Like too often people are only considerate of how things will affect them. So they're like, well, I'm parked in the spot, so I'm good. But you need to consider like if someone parks next to me, what's going to happen?
Sure.
People just aren't paying attention to what's going on around them, which is really fucking frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And as people who have worked in retail for a long time, we've seen a lot of that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. People have no idea of anything going on around them. No clue of their surroundings. They're just in their own world.
And it feels like it's so easy, too, because you'll see some of the like things they'll do. And it's just like, how do you function? How do you exist in a world where you do this and you're okay with the fact that you did it? And
right. For those of you that don't know, Mack and I both have jobs that require us to spend a good amount of time in grocery stores.
Yeah.
And you really notice it a lot. And the
number one thing.
Yep.
Fucking shopping cart.
The shopping cart.
The goddamn shopping cart.
It's always the sideways shopping cart in the middle of the aisle so no one can get around. And
or they'll park their shopping cart on one side of the aisle and they'll cross the aisle to look at stuff. So they're just filling in the entire thing. And especially with like the pandemic, it's been so extra frustrating because like when I would see that before, I would just like really invade their personal space to get past them. Like, you know,
Right.
like if you're going to block me off like that, I'm going to fucking get through you. I'm not going to sit here and wait. You're an asshole. But now with the pandemic, it's like, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get anybody else sick. I just have to sit here and wait.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. Or the I'll park the shopping cart never like against the side of the aisle.
Never. They will never make sure it's out of the way.
Nope. It's always in the middle. It's always sideways. And then sometimes they'll go like, oh, I want to look at something in the next aisle and just leave their shopping cart.
Just leave it there in the way.
Like no one else is even trying to get by.
Like, do you pull your car over in the middle of the road to look at a park that you think is really pretty? No, you keep fucking moving. So you should do the same with a shopping cart.
Right.
If you want to stop and look at something, pull off to the side of the road. God damn it.
Right. So frustrating.
It's so frustrating because it's so easy.
Right.
It's so easy to just not be that person.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is a real thing or if it's just coincidence. Maybe 9 out of 10 times it's always a female that's got her shopping cart turned to the side. I know that sounds kind of mean, but
I've seen a lot of old fuckers do that too.
Oh,
old men.
Old.
I feel like the older you get, the less aware of it you are.
Yeah, the old person thing, that could be man or woman. You just stop caring. You stop in a doorway, like in the entryway. You take like 3 steps in and then you just stop and you know, you've got to whatever, adjust your coat or whatever.
I don't know where it comes from is the main thing. Like I've tried to understand it, but like even like, so I work at a really like big grocery store where there's like a lot of aisles and a lot of shit. You know, from when we worked together at World Market, whenever we had schematics, we would just do them ourselves.
Sure.
Where I work now, some of the teams have so much to do for their schematics. Schematics, for anyone who doesn't know, is like how things are set on a shelf, and like how they're arranged and whatever. When certain teams need to do the schematics, they will have a third party company come in and like help them out with it.
Oh,
and they're all complete and utter morons. Like, do you remember at World Market when we had those people who would come in and count our inventory?
Oh yeah.
And we had this prevailing theory that they were literally picked up on the side of the road that day. And if they showed up for the second day, they'd get to be a manager.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because the joke was that they would just find people on the side of the road and say, hey, do you want to work today? I'll give you a sandwich.
Right.
That's pretty much the demographic you get.
Because they were complete fucking morons. Like the job was counting. It can't be that hard, but they fuck up all the time.
Yeah.
And so the people that come in and do these schematics as a third party help are basically the same. Hardly ever the same person twice, and they all fucking suck.
Yeah.
And you know, you've seen briefly the back room where I work. It is very.
I have.
It's set up weird. Like when you think of a normal stock room, you think of like a big open area.
Right.
Ours is like a line that kind of goes around the entire building, and it's all pretty narrow. There's just like a lot of space kind of spread out in a lot of areas. It's not like centralized.
Yeah, you'll kind of find that's relatively common with grocery stores.
Okay.
That kind of like the more narrow area.
So there's a specific back area where they keep a lot of pallets and they keep a lot of back stock, and they will work off those pallets and off of that back stock, especially once the schematic itself is done, to like get extra stuff out. And like, for fuck's sake, it never fails. Every time they're there, it's just a nightmare to get through that section because like, you know, once you've got pallets on one side and then you have like racking on the other side. And with those two things, you're left about 4 feet of space.
Right.
Which is plenty to get a cart through. Not when they're around. Because they'll take like carts and just like put them against the right side of the aisle. And then they'll be working off a pallet on the left side of the aisle. And you can't fucking get past.
Right.
And it's not like you roll up your cart, they move out of the way. You roll up their cart and you have to say, hey, can you move your cart for a second? And then they'll move it. They don't fucking notice you otherwise. I have tried. I have stood there and waited. They don't move.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, theoretically speaking, this is your job. This is your living. How have you not become accustomed to paying attention to like look to your left, look to your right every few seconds just to make sure you're not in anybody's way?
Right.
Because that's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. It's like, you know, every 5-10 seconds, just look around you. Be like, am I affecting anybody with what I'm doing right now?
Exactly.
If you do that and you react to it, you're good. You're not an asshole if you do that. If you put your cart in the way of somebody for a second, not a big deal as long as you notice it and move it.
Right.
If your cart sits there in the way, you're an asshole. I don't like you. If you're one of those people, please stop listening to this podcast because I hate you and I want to kick you.
Bye.
See ya. Bye, Felicia.
The other thing you'll notice too with the shopping carts, with or without a shopping cart, I guess, it's just people who just stop walking.
Oh my God.
And aren't aware that anyone is
behind them.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so frustrating, especially because like I'm kind of a fast walker.
Yeah.
I know I am. I've gotten used to the fact that if I'm behind somebody else, I have to walk slower. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is sometimes like maybe I'll be preoccupied and like I won't notice that someone stopped and I'll run into them.
Yep.
And then they look at me like I'm the asshole. And it's like, you suddenly stopped in a busily trafficked area. What do you expect?
Right.
You can't be pissed.
Right.
You should be apologizing to me.
At least
for your fat ass getting in my way.
At the very least, just look over your shoulder and see if someone's behind you before you stop. That's really all it takes. It's really not that hard.
It's just the recognition that you are not the center of the universe and taking that second to be like, am I impacting anybody?
Yeah, no, Karen doesn't think like that. Karen just does what she wants.
What's the male name for Karen?
The male Karen.
The male Karen.
Oh,
what would that name be?
Oh man. So
I feel like it has to be like an old white guy name.
Oh. Yeah, who would complain? The only thing, and no offense to any of you out there that have this name, but
I'm sure you're great. If you're listening to this podcast and you got past the part where I told you to stop listening, you're not this person.
Right. This doesn't so much fit in with the Karen thing, but I feel like anyone named Chad is just instantly a douchebag.
Okay, that's fair. I do. That one doesn't set me off as much because I had a friend named Chad in high school.
Sure, we all have a little different experience.
He was the opposite of what you would expect a Chad to be, right? Like when I think of a Chad, I think of like a frat dude, like a jock type, like a total douchebag.
Absolutely.
This guy was like a fat gamer.
Okay. He's not your stereotypical Chad.
No, he was the anti-Chad.
Okay. What would be a good male equivalent for Karen?
I really don't know. I don't think there's any really good one. Like the Karen thing came about because for some reason, legitimately, that name pops up a lot for those kinds of people.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know that there is like a really good equivalent for men.
Like Keith? Do you think a Keith would be?
No, I feel like all the Keiths I've met have been pretty considerate.
I only know one and I actually really like him, but I don't know. It started with a K. I just went with it.
I don't know.
Oh, we can circle back to that if we come up with something.
Sure.
Pedestrians are the other ones that kind of drive me insane, especially at the.
You got to stop doxing us.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
just say in the area we live.
Okay.
It is really bad because like where I used to live, not the apartment I live in now, but the apartment before, like the street leading up to it, like it's a major road that a lot of people traffic, but it's also kind of a poorer part of the city. So there's no street lights, and I would drive home pretty late or be leaving home pretty early a lot because obviously like I had either closing shifts or I had shifts where I could be coming in at 5 a.m.
Sure.
The absurd number of people who would walk around that street in like all black clothing in the middle of the night is fucking ridiculous.
Why is it always all black head to toe at night?
Like people cannot see you. At the very least, use the goddamn sidewalk.
Right. That's all it takes.
How do you feel about jaywalking? I have some opinions about jaywalking.
I have a very, very strong opinion about jaywalking.
I went on a date with a girl once, and we were walking around the city, and we were heading to like a thrift store that wasn't that far off from where we were, and we needed to cross the street, and she started to just cross, and I looked at her and I was like, no, there's a crosswalk right there. We're going to the crosswalk. Like I like put my foot down with this girl I just started dating. And she was like, what do you mean? I'm just going to cross out. And it's like, no, there's a crosswalk. Use the crosswalk. Like that is something that throws me right the fuck off. It is a gigantic pet peeve for me. If you're crossing the street 20 feet from a crosswalk, I'm going to hit you with my car. You deserve it.
Okay. Now I don't think we're necessarily gonna disagree with on this because I agree. If there is a crosswalk, use it.
Use it, please, for God's sake.
But my take on jaywalking, I am 100% pro jaywalking.
Okay.
However,
if there's a crosswalk available.
If there's a crosswalk available, you use the crosswalk.
Okay, well, so we'll agree there. Because, like, if there's not a crosswalk nearby, jaywalking is whatever.
But also, my theory is you should be able to jaywalk all you want. But if you get hit, that's 100% should be on you.
Okay, yeah,
that
totally.
should be not at all the responsibility of the driver.
Totally.
Like,
Where we live now, I know this isn't a thing in a lot of like other countries. Here in America, it's 100%. If you hit a pedestrian, it's your fault every time. There's no exception, and there absolutely should be some exceptions.
Right. And the crosswalks here in our town, most of them, if anyone is entering or even standing on the sidewalk at the edge of the crosswalk, you're supposed to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially like this is a college town and those fuckers don't wait.
They don't wait. They don't stop. They don't cross the crosswalk.
And there's videos of people just walking over the hood of a car because they didn't stop soon enough in the crosswalk. Like, are you kidding me? Even if it ends up being my fault, you're still going to be in pain. I'm not going to lose sleep over this.
Yeah.
I'll just lose money.
Yeah. There's very one specific section downtown. There's a crosswalk there, but there's also parking on both sides of the street. So even if someone is in the crosswalk using the crosswalk, you don't necessarily even know that they're there.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Until they're already like 3 steps into your lane.
Yep, you can't see them and they won't stop. They won't even look.
No.
And like that's the same as like the shopping cart shit. Like, yes, maybe I should be the one stopping. That's the rule. But that doesn't mean I'm going to. You don't know that. You don't know that I'm paying attention right now.
Right.
It's all about self-preservation. You know what? Natural selection would have taken care of these fuckers if we hadn't evolved so much. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And then you've got days like today.
It's super snowy
It's outside. A snowy day. You know who can stop on a dime? Someone walking on foot. You can't always stop a car on a dime.
No, sir.
Like, what am I going to do? Slide into the pedestrian?
God, it gets bad up here. Like, you know, I'll be going 15 miles per hour in the parking lot and I'll slide. Like,
yeah.
Do you take like the snow pretty seriously? Do you like really slow down or?
Yeah, for the most part. I've always done this thing ever since I learned how to drive. Every time I go out, if there's snow on the ground, I do a little test. So either if I'm
a little drift test,
if I'm in a parking lot or if I'm coming up to a stop sign and there's nobody else around, I'll maybe when I'm going like 10 miles an hour, I'll just jam on the brakes and see how slippery everything is to kind of judge like, oh, it's not that bad. It's just,
I'll kind of do that in the parking lot as well.
It's just like some wet slush.
But I'm very like, I'm very much the proprietor of if you don't slow down so super much, it will be safer for everybody. So at most, I'll go like 5 miles per hour slower. But even on bad days, like as long as you give yourself enough space to stop, you're good.
Yeah, it's stopping that's really the thing.
Yeah, as long as you're not fucking jiggling around the wheel waiting to turn every second on the road. So if you go the same speed, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, and
the problem is those people who drive 5 miles per hour when there's like not even an inch of snow on the ground, like you cause a problem for everybody else.
It's one extreme or the other. You have those people. And then you've got
the people who will completely ignore it.
You've got the 4-wheel drive people who are like, oh, well, my car won't get stuck. I can drive through anything. And that's true. But they forget that they can't stop.
They can't stop through anything. No.
Correct.
I don't know if this was ever like confirmed or not. I think it was just a rumor, but it was kind of a funny one. When I was in school, snow days.
Love snow days.
We could do a whole podcast and have awesome snow days.
Oh, absolutely.
But when I was in school, there was a rumor that the superintendent of our town, like the way that he would decide whether or not we would be having a snow day, which like, first of all, the reason I think this is probably just a rumor and not fact is I don't think one person has the entire deciding power in that situation. But if he does, then the rumor was that he would make his decision based on whether or not he could get through the snow. And he drove a Hummer.
So you never had a snow day?
Basically never. You know what else sucks too? His son was in my grade.
Oh, everyone hated that kid. They were all like, hey, tell your dad thanks a lot for the snow day.
Tell your dad fuck his Hummer. Yeah, no. I think that was purely just a rumor, but it was definitely a funny one, and certainly one that I believed for a few years. But now as an adult, I'm like, it was probably not all up to him. I don't think they would do that kind of thing.
How old would you say you were when this was a thing?
It pretty much my entire like high school. I think up until like junior or senior years when he stopped having a Hummer.
Okay.
So that's like around the time that people stopped like spreading that rumor.
Gotcha.
Because obviously like it has less weight if he just has a normal car driving around. But if it was in fact that he was deciding based on whether or not his Hummer could get through, and we had like I drove a Prius in my senior year, like
nice.
Those are different kinds of cars.
Those are the complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Totally.
You've got the hybrid vehicle and then like the extreme gas guzzler.
Yeah, they're pure opposites. I love that Prius, dude. I missed that car. I do miss that car.
That is great. God, snow days. Snow days were fantastic.
Snow days were the best. Okay, here's something I was just thinking about earlier today, actually, because it was snowing so much today.
Yeah.
Did you ever do any like weird shit to try to like cause a snow day? Like break into your principal's house and like put snow underneath his tires. That's a joke, but
I can't say I've done that. I feel like there must have been something like maybe I don't know if this is real. I feel like trying to like put water on the on the road. I don't even remember how we did that, but it sticks out so vividly in my mind that I feel like that has to be a real thing.
That's an interesting one. So one weird thing that like one snow day in particular, and like I think this is part of why I'm not a superstitious person to this day.
Okay,
but like,
are you a little stitious?
Thank you. A bunch of kids all like spread the rumor. They were like, dude, you need to put a spoon underneath your pillow. That
what?
I don't know where this came from. I don't know who created it, but literally everybody through the entire day was like spreading to everybody else, like, put a spoon under your pillow, bro. We'll have a snow day if you do that.
So this is some sort of weird snow day tooth fairy mashup?
Pretty much. Well, I mean, it's just like I guess a snow day superstition. Like, I don't know if enough children in one part of a state, in one part of a country, in a gigantic world, all put their spoons underneath the pillow, the fucking gods of weather will be like, oh, well, let's give these fuckers a snow day, I guess. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
And Mr. White Christmas, he comes up, he's like, fuck! They put out the goddamn spoons again. Someone crank on the snow machine.
Right? Jack Frost is telling you to crank up the snow.
Yeah, but no, it didn't work. And that's why I think to this day I don't believe in ghosts.
Because the spoon didn't get you a snow day?
Yeah, because, if that superstition failed, then why do I have any reason to believe in any superstitions?
Okay.
Don't hit me with that knock on wood bullshit. I don't believe in luck.
You make your own luck, right, Mac?
I make my own luck. I roll the dice. I carry around a D20 at all times, and anytime I'm uncertain about something, just roll that fucker. I have terrible luck.
Now a D20 is that's the
20-sided die.
It's from Dungeons and Dragons, right?
That's the main one used in D&D, yeah.
Okay, look at that. I've never played the game, know virtually nothing about it, but I know that's a thing.
Basically, like, anytime you want to do an action in the game, you'll have to do some kind of check. Like, if you want to investigate an area, you'll have to do a perception check. If you want to attack an enemy, you'll have to do an attack check. And then, like, if you pass the initial check, then you can actually do the action. And you'll usually have to roll a dice again after having done that. Like, if you successfully clear the attack check, then you will roll die to figure out how much damage you do. And, a lower number is bad, a higher number is good. If you roll like a 20 on a perception check, then you can absolutely do the action. And a lot of times that's up to like the dungeon master. And this is where D&D gets interesting. Like, depending on how good or bad your number is, they'll come up with like other weird shit to do.
Okay.
Like, I remember one time in a D&D game I did, I was role playing as like a monk character who just like really did dumb shit.
Okay.
Me and my friends were like locked in a jail together. And so I decided, this is how I'm going to break out. I'm going to punch the door, the steel door.
Sure.
So I rolled a 20 on top of like a little extra boost from my character's own stats.
Okay.
So my dungeon master decided not only did I break the door, but it flew across the room and smashed down my cellmate's door. And then my bones fused and became steel. And I had a bonus for the rest of the game where anytime I punched something, my steel hand would do extra damage. But then like literally like my next turn, I tried to punch someone else's door down and I got like a 3.
Oh.
And so my hand broke.
Of course. That's really funny, but that's so nerdy.
It's super nerdy. I mean, like Dungeons and Dragons can be so much goddamn fun depending on like your dungeon master because they'll come up with interesting shit like that. My friend Kyler's been like the dungeon master I've had the most experience with, and he always comes up with like weird shit to do with that. I had one character I made when we were playing, and like he got really obsessed with like whether or not like checking every room for dust. So my character, like he like one day was like, Mac, I figured out a way to make this interesting. And he made my character have a subclass that was like Dust Lord. So I would like accumulate stacks of dust, and then I could use those stacks of dust to like increase my attack or increase my defense, and then those stacks would get used up. Like if you're that kind of dungeon master, you're gonna make the game really fun for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it could be a good time. Most of my D&D knowledge comes from either
Popular culture.
The Big Bang Theory or Stranger Things.
It's a lot of fun, but it's realistically speaking, the experience you have comes down to the dungeon master. They have so much control over what happens that if you have and I've had dungeon masters who were super controlling and like trying to send everybody down a specific path, and like you had to do everything a certain way, and it's not as fun. The dungeon masters that are like the most fun and make the game like the most interesting for everybody else are the guys who will let you do dumb shit and come up with a way that it ends up being interesting.
Nice. What did a snow day look like for you? What did little Mac do on a snow day with his giant hair just all over the place?
Well, okay, that wasn't really a thing. Because
I know, but in my head, I picture you as like an 8-year-old with the exact same length hair you have right now.
I know you do. Unfortunately, that isn't the truth. My mom kept my hair short for years, and when I gained control of my hair, I mostly kept it under a hat. I still grew it out. It got really long, but I didn't really have it out and about. But for me, snow days, it kind of depended on what age I was. When I was younger, it meant hanging out with my brothers, going outside in the snow. Doing dumb shit outside in the snow.
Maybe sledding.
Yeah. So I grew up in New Hampshire. We covered this last episode briefly. In New Hampshire, these snow piles would get ridiculously high. Like it might be a bit exaggerated because I was younger and my perception was like less clear, obviously.
Oh yeah. As a kid, I swear there were times where we would get like 20 inches of snow overnight, which just isn't a thing.
Right. But from what I remember, the snow would sometimes get to be as tall as my mom, who is 5'6". I feel like
also how tall I am.
I feel like even if I was, exaggerating in my head, that still had to be some pretty fucking tall snow.
Yeah.
It had to be at least like 3-4 feet for me to even see it that way.
Yeah, I was going to say probably at least 4 feet.
And my home in New Hampshire, we had a big metal roof. And you don't see this much. Most roofs are obviously like shingling or whatever, but the metal roofs are like just these flat planes with like a little bump in the middle or in every now and then. And they're just, they last longer than shingles, I guess. I don't really know what the benefit of it is. I think they're more dangerous than a lightning storm. Like you have to have a lightning rod on your house.
That would make sense.
Because obviously they get more conductive because of the metal.
Right.
But there was one spot in particular over our garage, which hung pretty low. Again, I don't know the actual height of it, but I would say it probably hung down to be 4 feet, 4 or 5 feet from the ground.
Okay.
So it would sometimes snow so much that it would get up there. You would have a pile up onto the roof. And I, to this day, don't know if my parents know about this. My mom listened to the last episode of the podcast. I don't know if she'll listen to this.
I hope she's listening right now. This is a great story.
Mom, if you are listening to this podcast, please let me know after this story if you know about this or not. But one day in particular, it did get to that height where you could get up on the roof, and my parents didn't want us up on the roof.
Understandably, why would they?
But of course, what kid actually listens to their parent, especially if you have two brothers, and especially brothers like mine who are fairly mischievous, especially compared to me, like their mischievousness. I don't know what word I should be using here. Mischievosity.
Yeah, that's the word.
It builds off of it builds off of one another and grows to exponential levels. So we just got into more and more trouble.
Kind of like a sleepover. Like one person comes up with an idea and everyone else just feeds into it.
Exactly. It just keeps building because of that collection of minds. But the snow got up to that height on the roof and we went up on the roof. And the plan was to sled off of the roof. Great idea in theory.
It sounds fantastic. It actually kind of reminds me of that scene from Home Alone where he takes like his like toboggan at the top of the stairs and goes down the stairs and like out the front door.
Hell yeah. The problem is that with a metal roof, I think like the snow didn't stick, so it was still just metal. And I went to sled down on this big metal roof and my sled like slipped out from underneath me. I don't remember. It was a traumatic experience, so my memory's a bit flawed. But like the sled flew out from underneath me and my body just grinded against the metal roof. And eventually like my jacket got yanked up and I got the meanest fucking like metal burn on my stomach.
Oh,
it was so goddamn bad. It was so fucking painful. Like just my bare skin sliding against this cold metal where there's probably at least a little bit like chunks of ice here and there that are like scraping against my stomach.
Maybe a nail sticking up here and there. You never know.
So it was just so fucking painful, but I knew that we weren't allowed up on the roof. And I knew we'd be in trouble if my parents knew we'd been up on the roof. So I didn't say anything, but it fucking hurt. It stung for hours.
Oh, I bet.
So I definitely have a vivid memory of like sitting in the family room, like with my family. Maybe the fire was going. I don't know. All I can remember is laying on the floor and just in my head being like, ah, because it hurt so bad. But I couldn't just tell my parents. So, Mom, I want to know. I don't know. I'm fairly certain I never actually said it, that I like hurt myself sledding off the roof. I want to know if you know about that or not. If you don't know, I'm sorry you had to find out about this way. But I hurt myself very badly sledding on the roof one day.
Yeah, I mean, at this age, the statute of limitations is passed. You're good, but I am curious to find out if your mom actually did.
I feel like I never told her or never told her or my dad. Like I knew we'd be in so much trouble, and I knew I'd be the example. Like every time it snowed, like don't go up on the roof or you'll end up like your brother. And they just have me like down in the basement with my stomach like laid bare and it's all red and skinned and whatever and
raw.
Yeah, somehow they managed to preserve it. I never heal. I'm in eternal pain. Like that's what they do to me somehow.
Yeah.
At least that was the mindset as a child.
They just take a picture of your stomach and just tape it up on the roof. So
this is what happens.
Yeah, remember what happened last time?
They get it like painted or like get patinaed into the roof so it never goes away.
Did you really think that was a good idea, Mac? That kind of thing?
Yeah. Oh God, that was a bad one. Yeah. Did you ever have injuries like that when you were a kid?
Not too many injuries. I've never like broken a bone or anything.
I still haven't broken well, actually, I think I broke my hand a little while back. I haven't told you about that. We'll get back to that.
Okay. No real injuries I can think of other than, some basic, cuts and scrapes and playing in the woods kind of thing. But sledding for me, when I was a little kid was great because not very far, maybe like a mile or mile and a half from my parents was what used to be an old ski resort.
Okay.
That had closed like 20 years earlier.
Okay.
So
a lot of room to get in some trouble there.
All the buildings were gone, but you could climb to the top of the ski hill and sled down it, which is incredible because everyone's always looking for like, oh, where's a big hill?
Oh, yeah.
You really don't get a bigger hill than
an actual ski hill.
than one that's designed for people to slide down when there's snow on the ground.
Right.
So that was pretty epic. It was a good time going down the hill. It was just a real pain. Yeah, it was a real pain walking back up because, we didn't have like a ski lift.
I didn't have a hill quite like that, but when I lived in New Hampshire, we had like a hill. I want to say it was next to like the fire station or something, and people would always be sledding there during the winter. I don't know how tall it was. What I do remember, this is like super specific, but I do remember that there was like an upper level to like the building that it was against. I don't know if that was a fire station or not, honestly, but there was a building nearby at the very least. And there was like you'd like climb a set of stairs and there'd be like a door on the back of the building that you'd walk into. And I remember when I was a kid, like taking Spanish lessons in that building, and I do not have good memories of that because that fucking room was terrible. It was like dark and cold, and like there was like a green carpet and like basically no lights or whatever. It was so fucking sketch.
Wow. Okay.
Mom, if you know what room I'm talking about, I'm curious if that's like an exaggerated memory of it from my childhood or if that's actually what it was like. But I fucking hated that room. I hated those Spanish lessons. That was goddamn awful.
Oh man. Right next to the sledding hill.
Right next to the sledding hill. Like, I don't know if you could like see out the window and see the sledding, but if I could, I'm sure that was miserable.
I'm just imagining this scenario where like you're stuck in this awful room in Spanish class, and like behind you, you're looking out the window as like all the other kids in the neighborhood are sledding, and you're just stuck
in this dark room learning Spanish.
Right. Me llamo Mack.
Oh my God. I don't know why. Like that room, it feels like it's a dark part of my backstory, like if I was a superhero or an anime character, like that would be like the setting stones that would make the person that I am now, like being in that room. That was my yeah, I don't know, just my miserable experience. I fucking hated that place. I don't know what was up with it.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I don't know who designed it like that. Or maybe it wasn't like that at all, and I just didn't like going to Spanish lessons, so I created a worse environment in my head. Who knows? Kids do weird stuff. Our memories are not perfect.
Right. Well, my memory,
especially when you're young, like weird shit can get even weirder when you're young.
Yeah. Kids get real weird with stuff. Something seems like a good idea, and then you take it way too far. Your kid brain just keeps going.
It just makes its own reality. The worst part too is like, since I moved away from New Hampshire when I was 10 years old, like all of my memories of that place, I have no idea like how accurate they are because I have no reference as an adult,
Right.
Like my house is still in my head, the house that I had when I was a kid. Whatever ridiculous exaggerations I've imagined for it are still like that to this day, as far as I'm concerned.
Like it hasn't changed at all.
No. Like there was this room. I just remembered this recently. I had actually kind of forgotten about this, but I remembered it recently. In my room and in my house in New Hampshire, there was a door on like one of the walls that led into like an attic space. And I wasn't allowed in there. So of course I went in there as often as I could.
Right.
But it was just like this like dark, cold room again. But it just had like old children's books and like old shit that my parents had stored in there. But I feel like I was afraid of that room when I was like a really young kid because it was just like this spooky door that I wasn't allowed to go in.
Growing up, I had a room exactly like that.
Oh, really? I didn't know about this.
It was located within my bedroom. There was a little tiny like Alice in Wonderland door.
Mine was like a normal size door.
Oh, no, this was like a mini door. Just because the way that the roof was slanted for my parents' house, my room had all sorts of weird like ceiling angles where the ceiling would slant down and only be like 4 feet off the ground.
Okay.
And so there was this little door that fit like just under where the ceiling slanted. So it was maybe like a 3 or 4 foot door.
Okay.
So you either had to duck, be a child, or like crawl through it basically. But we referred to that as the cold room because like
it would just get cold in there.
Yeah, it would just always be cold or just hot as balls in the summer. But yeah, kind of the same thing. We would keep, it was full of like my baby toys when I was like 10. It was full of like baby toys and
Do you ever like go in there and like try to like turn it into a club room or something?
Nothing like that.
I feel like it was every kid's dream to like have a club room or like a really advanced tree house or something.
Oh yeah.
Every kid wanted something like that. That's kind of what that attic was to me. I know when I got a little bit older, like I definitely remember like sitting in a chair in that room and like reading the books or whatever next to like dim light while I still wasn't allowed in there.
Now I know during sleepovers we would obviously build forts and stuff when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
We were always big fans, my friends and I, of doing like a woods fort.
A woods fort?
Yeah. So my parents.
Oh, a fort in the woods.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why like woods to me sounded like an architect's name. Like there's a specific design you're going for.
Like I'm going.
This is very like woods-esque kind of tree house.
This is very very Frank Lloyd Wright. Fort that we're making out of pillows and blankets.
That was the architect's kid.
Yeah. No, we'd hang out in the woods in the summer all the time.
Oh yeah, I made some like stick forts.
Yeah. You make stick forts, you take some branches, you put them over the top.
Covered in bark.
Yep. You maybe bring some snacks out there. You got random stuff that you keep out there. I think in one of them I had like a random knife that I found.
Just sitting out?
Yeah, it was like a rusty knife that I think I found at like a park.
My brothers and I had like when I moved to Michigan, we had like a small batch of woods between us and like a small pond.
Mm-hmm.
And we all had like a fort in there, but we were also like at an age where we were all constantly at war with one another. So they didn't last long before people started kicking them down.
Yeah. I've got a very good story to tell.
Okay.
That kind of brings all of what we've talked about together a little bit now that I think about it. So I've previously mentioned in our last podcast, my friend Mike.
Yep.
I'm sure Mike and his wife Jess are going to be real happy to hear this story. We were probably, I would say maybe 14 or 15. This wasn't actually a sleepover. I just had, 5 or 6 dudes over.
Just a couple of boys.
Just a couple of boys hanging out during the day. And I had a decent amount of woods surrounding all sides of my house growing up. There was probably a good acre or two behind my house.
Okay,
that was still part of our property. That was all either like wetland or just straight up trees.
Okay.
Well, where the property ends, where the woods ends, there's a nudist resort.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm sure you can at least somewhat judge where this is going based on
the ages alone.
Yeah, we're a couple of teenage boys, and so we they want to. They're like, oh, let's go back there. Let's go walk through the woods. Let's go see what we can see. And I'm like, guys,
it's not as exciting as you think.
Yeah, it's not really that cool. It's mostly just a bunch of like saggy old dudes.
Of course.
Just hanging out.
Nudist beaches, nudist camps, nudist like societies, they're never what you want them to be.
No, it's never what you think of in your head. So they convince me. So we take a walk back through the woods and we get there and I think the funniest part is they have a softball field.
Oh no.
Could you imagine?
It's a lot of movement for some naked old dudes.
It's a lot of movement. There could be like sliding involved. I don't.
Oh God, they're gonna get some metal roof rug burns.
Absolutely. So we go back there and we don't see anybody. So we think, okay, we'll walk past the softball field. We'll go a little onto the nudist resort property. It's called Whispering Oaks, by the way, which I think is a hilarious name.
That sounds exactly like what I would expect a nudist colony to be named.
Oh, absolutely. So we're walking back there, and we're getting pretty ballsy at this point. No. You
weren't like taking off your pants though.
No pun intended. So we start walking farther and farther into this resort, and all of a sudden we hear someone say something along the lines of, "There they are, get them."
Oh no!
And there's a dude on like a 4-wheeler So we
Just buck ass nude on the four-wheeler.
he might have been clothed. I think he was security.
Okay.
My vision's a little sketchy of the details. It's been quite a while since this story took place. So we just hightail it out of there, back across the softball field, running back through the woods. You know, we're like running into trees. You know, and then we finally get to a spot where we can kind of like take a little breather, and we look around and we're like, "Where's Mike?"
Oh no. You can't lose a boy in a nudist colony.
Right? Well, we're like, well, shit, we're already pretty much back home. So we're like, it's fine. I'm sure he's just back in the woods somewhere. He'll find us.
You can't just leave a man behind in that situation.
We totally left a man behind.
Oh man. Is this what you guys didn't talk for a couple of years over?
No, this was not what caused
the great break.
Yeah, the friendship hiatus / falling out. But as me and the rest of the boys are like walking back to my parents' house, you know, I'm sure my parents had no idea what exactly we were doing. We're just like, yeah, we're just gonna go in the woods for a little bit. So we like walk back up to the house, and as we walk up, you know, one friend missing, a car pulls up into our driveway.
Oh no.
He totally got caught and given a ride home with the message, "Don't come back until you're 18."
Did they tell your parents?
No, I'm pretty sure my parents found out as this strange car pulled up into the driveway, and they were like, "Why did Mike just get out of that car?"
I'm surprised they didn't go like knocking on the door. Whose kids are these?
Yeah, it really wasn't that. We didn't really get in any trouble. Like, I don't even know if my parents ever found out, or they just knew and just didn't care or something.
Huh.
I don't know if this part is real or if this was a joke that we made up, but at some point, someone insisted that the person who drove Mike home was only wearing a t-shirt.
That'd be really bad at that age.
I would need Mike to confirm or deny that.
I really hope that's not true for his sake.
Yeah, it may have just been a joke, but in general, that story, yeah, it's great. Covers dumb stuff, playing in the woods.
You just had such like an imagination as a kid for like the space behind your house or whatever.
Oh yeah.
When I lived in New Hampshire, we had the craziest backyard, and like, so the backyard itself, we had about half an acre that was considered our backyard, but there was like woods that stretched out forever because I kind of grew up in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And there was this fantastic trail that just like it started on one side of my yard and looped all the way around back around to it. And there was like spots you could like go off, and there was all kinds of shit in the woods. One thing in particular, this is weird. I still don't, I guess no one really knows the story of it. It's just a thing that was out in the woods. It wasn't even that far off. Like my mom knew like this existed, but it was like an old like truck. It looked like it'd been made probably in the 50s, just completely buried underneath bricks.
Okay.
Just hanging out in the middle of the woods. And there was like these 3 big hills that kind of like were in this area. So my brothers and I all like claimed a hill and like lived, quote unquote, on these hills. And like that was like our territory. And we'd have to like fend off intruders, which were just one another.
Right.
But I had the truck hill, I think. It might have been my younger brother. I don't remember which one was which, but that thing was awesome. Like, I don't know what it was about it, but my brothers and I, we were just, I wish like as an older person now, I wish I could go back there and like get some pictures of it, because it was seriously cool.
I mean, that could be.
I am fairly certain we picked up the bricks and threw it at the truck, but
probably that could be a road trip.
Totally.
You could road trip to your old house and just wander through the woods until you find a truck.
I have been wanting to do like a cross country road trip for a couple of years now.
I
don't know why I still haven't, but I mean, that'd be a cool video.
Yeah.
If I ever did do that, either for my own channel or for like this channel, like I would definitely like make a video out of it. But I've always wanted to do like a cross country road trip, like maybe get like an RV or something. I'd love to do something where I could like live wherever I'm traveling, like not have to get hotel rooms.
Yeah. But
I just think it would be such a cool experience. And I like driving. Like, it doesn't bother me to drive for a really long time. So I think I'd enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't mind driving either. Road trips are always a decent time.
The only I guess the furthest I've driven is when I went, and my mom lives in Nashville now. I still live in Michigan, and it's an 8-hour drive from where I live to her house. And I did that all in one day. And that was awesome. I had such a great time. I listened to a podcast. Hope maybe someone's on a road trip listening to us right now.
Hopefully.
If you're on a road trip listening to the podcast, be safe, pay attention to the road, pay attention to the people around you.
Absolutely.
But that was an awesome trip because, where we live in Michigan's a very flat state. There's not a lot to see driving around. And especially, I feel like Ohio is like a jail that keeps you into Michigan because Ohio is the most fucking boring place on earth to travel through.
Absolutely.
There's 150 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles of just nonstop fucking cornfields.
Ohio's just the worst in general, but
for sure. But that could be an entire video.
Oh, absolutely.
If you live in Ohio, you can still listen to the podcast, but just know we don't like you.
Join us next time while we trash Ohio.
But so once you get past Ohio, things start to get more interesting because it's very flat here. It's very flat in Ohio, and Ohio doesn't even have the advantage of populated areas to see because it's just nothing out there. You know, there's Cleveland or there's Toledo, but there's still not much going on.
Right, and then I'm sure I'm forgetting some decent sized cities, but really then until you get down to Columbus and Cincinnati, which is basically Kentucky.
Yeah. But once you get into that Kentucky and Tennessee area, there starts to be more mountains, and God, it is so cool to drive through mountains, especially in areas where they have kind of the mountain carved out and there's big rock walls along where you're driving, or you're driving through a pretty densely populated forested area where there's a lot of elevation changes. That is just so much fun. I love driving through those kinds of areas.
Yeah. It's better than Ohio because Ohio smells like hot dogs.
That's true, but the whole dang state.
But not even like a nice.
No, it's like an IKEA hot dog.
It's not even that. It's like if you boil hot dogs in a pot of water and then you leave that hot dog water, that
becomes the incense.
Yeah, that's mostly what the entire state of Ohio smells like.
Ohio's the worst.
It really is. I feel like this actually could be an entire episode at some point.
Well, especially because, my summer camp was in Ohio. I met a lot of Ohioans.
Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you know this or not. They don't even pronounce it Ohio. They say Ohio. It's that's wrong.
Well, no, that depends on where you're at. There's all sorts of weird accents.
That is not how it's spelled.
I'm not defending it, but you'll get different pronunciations depending on where you're at.
It's pronounced Ohio. If you are not willing to pronunciate, don't speak it.
Enunciate. There we go.
I still pronounced it fine though. I just said the wrong word. Enunciate. If you're not willing to enunciate, stop talking. In general, I don't like hearing you.
Right.
This is the episode where we alienate a lot of people.
It is.
It's the first episode, we wrote them in. The second episode, we prune them out.
Right. Now that there's 3 of you listening, I hope you're enjoying this.
Yeah, we're having a great time doing the podcast. Mike and I just a minute ago, or not even a minute, 10 minutes ago, did a quick grab some water, go to the bathroom break. And I told him, because I have the computer in front of me, Mike can't see the audio waves, but I can. And I'm looking over every now and then just to make sure everything's recording correctly. And I was like, we're already 50 minutes in. And I think he's on board with me that it felt like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's story time.
It's just a couple of boys talking.
Just a couple boys doing what a couple boys will do.
Yeah. So, with that being said, thank you for joining us on the second episode of Breakroom Nachos.
Absolutely.
Follow us on Twitter at Breakroom Nachos. Send us questions. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep. Also on Instagram.
Leave it in the comments.
At Breakroom Nachos.
I don't know. Send us pictures of your dad. That'd be kind of cool. We'll rate your dad on the Breakroom Nachos podcast.
Rate my dad is going to be a new segment.
A new segment. Half the podcast, every episode. We'll just rate people's dads.
Not even necessarily on attractiveness, just whatever we judge from
whatever
the
the discerning quality is. Because you can tell a lot about a dad from just a picture.
Oh, right. You can look at that and you can be like, you know what? That dude, definitely knows how to back into a parking spot. or like guaranteed.
You know that dude mows his lawn twice a week.
Guaranteed if that thermostat goes up 1 degree, he knows it and he goes over there and turns it down.
I'll have to find, I don't have any pictures of my biological father, but
right.
I'll have to see if I can find some at some point. You would love this. My dad looks like Hank Hill. He dresses like Hank Hill. He's got the same body type. He looks like Hank Hill.
Oh, that's great. That is fantastic.
Anyway, bye.
Yeah, bye for now. See you guys next week.